Hi folks, this is Mr. MegaManFan. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. You know all the things to do, but first and foremost, thank you for making me get to 3,000 subscribers here on the channel. Whoever you are watching this right now, if you're a subscriber, thank you. If you're not a subscriber, thank you, because either way, your viewing of the channel has gotten it to this point where it got more attention and reached that goal. And to celebrate that milestone, I have treated myself to something very special, which I'm paying for on installments because I can't afford it outright in one lump sum. But this is the RetroTINK-4K. So when I teased in my video yesterday that I was testing my last PS2 batch before everything changed, this is the thing that changed. For the first time, I'm going to be upscaling my PlayStation 2 to a 4K television. And that's pretty wacky. I have never even considered the possibility of doing that. Not even with the 5X. I believe it supports it on the 5X, but I never even tried it with that. But I am particularly happy with the 4K because it has extra inputs, so I can run components out of the back and run it through the 4K. Unfortunately, my component cable won't arrive until Sunday unless it ships early, so I may just have to settle for doing it through RGB for this video. But as you can see, we have a plethora of inputs. There's component on the back, there's VGA for computers, you can upscale HDMI sources, which I will also be doing as well, and here on the front we have our standard, bog standard, white, yellow, red RCA inputs that most things in the late 80s to mid 90s took. So we can upscale those as well. We've also got an SD card slot here with a SD card provided by RetroTINK that's preloaded with the firmware and some profiles for various consoles. And you can update anything on there as well. They included, this is a pretty complete package. You get the 4K, you get the remote, and you get this adapter that you can plug micro SD and SD cards into and plug it into a USB-C, because that's what most computers, including my Mac, have these days. So they even provide the way for you to update the cards. So to be honest, I'm a little overwhelmed by the plethora of options that the 4K offers. I'm probably going to have to watch some more Retro RGB or My Life in Gaming to figure out what, if any, settings on the RetroTINK 4K are really right for me. But as you can see here, on the input source selection, we have all the different sources that I listed. And then on the output page, you've got even more options available. PAL, NTSC, and different resolutions for each of those. You can see 60 for 60 Hz or 50 for 50 Hz, 1440, 1080, 480, 3840, 1920. Whatever scale you want to scale up or down to, you can certainly do it. And as I mentioned, it's got profiles preloaded on the SD card. As you can see, everything from Atari 2600 and 7800 to wacky things like Fujitsu FM Towns. I don't think I know a single person here who has an FM Towns Marty, but I do know people who are very fond of it on YouTube. It's just a pretty obscure system for North America. But look at all these options here. Now the PlayStation profiles, PS2 profiles I should say, assume you're using a component cable. So right now, as noted, I'm going through the bog standard AV cable that came with my PS2, and this is my launch edition fat PS2. But for the purpose of this video, so that I'm not constantly swapping discs in and out, I'm using the loader from Free McBoot and the micro SD card adapter that runs in memory card slot 1. Memory card slot 2. That's what I get for doing this with no script. Free McBoot is in slot 1, and the SD card loader is in slot 2. But as you can see, the strobing colors indicate that it's loading a game, and then we have the Sega Classics collection. Yeah, I need to put more things on the micro SD card. I don't have a lot on there right now, but that's because before now, I wasn't using this to the optimal performance that it had because I was running this on a standard TV without any way to upscale it, and it kind of ruined my enthusiasm for playing PlayStation 2 when I could upscale everything else that I had. Again, I think RetroTINK-5X could upscale PS2, but not to 4K. So it also, PlayStation 2 is notoriously fickle about switching back and forth between different outputs in the middle of games. PlayStation 1 does that as well. They go from 240 to 480 for menus and text for no reason other than maybe the developers thought it would look clearer on old school CRT televisions, but they just created headaches when you were upscaling. But fortunately, the 4K is so powerful that it can handle any change in resolution on the fly with zero lag. That's really the point of RetroTINK-5X and 4K, is the zero lag upscaling. You can find a lot of upscaling solutions out there, but they will introduce anywhere from a little to a lot of lag, and that is very undesirable when you're playing a fast-paced game like Fantasy Zone. You don't want to be lagging while you're playing this, or you're going to start having some problems. So I think this is my new go-to for playing PS2. Whether I'm using FreeMcBoot in the SD card loader or not, I'm going to be very happy with this outputting to my 4K HDR television. And speaking of HD, I did mention that you can upscale HDMI through the RetroTINK-4K as well. Let me show you what that looks like. So I think you'll find some humor in the fact that the sole input of my HDMI on RetroTINK-4K has an HDMI switch box plugged into it. So I can go on the fly between multiple different devices, including my Capcom Tron Retro Station and all the other things that are hooked up to it. I believe if I source this video correctly, I should be able to switch from this to Nintendo Switch to Analog Super NT to NT Mini Noir. Here's the Switch. As you can see, Axiom Verge 2 was the last game I played. There's the Retro Station again. And hopefully here I will switch to NT Mini Noir with all the different cores on it. So that's kind of a powerhouse now for doing retro. And of course I have the Analog Super NT on here as well. So no shortage of different options I can switch to and from on this setup. I am really happy with upscaling anything that I previously had to 4K. Not that they wouldn't have looked fine anyway in HDMI, but being able to upscale them to a 4K resolution is pretty effing sweet in my book. I'm not saying everybody should go out and spend what a RetroTINK-4K costs, especially since I'm paying for it in installments, and also it's currently sold out on Mike Chi's website. But damn, name one thing this thing can't scale up to 4K, and I'll be impressed that you come up with something, because from what I can tell, it can handle literally everything. I'm Mr. MegaManFan. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.